Grandpa's death. It was a heartbreaking day when I received the call from Wander that Grandpa was dying. It wasn't that long ago, but it also feels like it was a lifetime ago. I briefly saw Grandpa before his death, as he spent most of his time with Wander, discussing something seemingly important. Wander seemed a little enthused about what they were talking about. But the sadness from Grandpa's current state was ever present. A couple of days after their conversation, Grandpa died, and a funeral was held a week later. I saw Wander again, and she was clutching onto what appeared to be a piece of paper. The only bright side of the funeral was that Manzili was there. It had been my first time seeing her in years. And yet very little seemed to have changed. I went over to talk to her, and see how she was doing. She told me she was doing fine, but she was clearly ridden with grief over Grandpa's death. The funeral service was hard on all of us, but as soon as it was over, life seemed to continue on. I got over Grandpa's death relatively soon. However, the paper that Wander was holding onto during the funeral weirdly wouldn't leave my mind. Weeks passed, until the fateful day came, the day in which Wander called. And had my life changed forever. She told me Grandpa left his farm to her, and she wanted me and Manzili to come and help her manage the farm. I thought what the worst that could happen could be. But soon I would realize that a lot of wrong could happen, all starting with that poor man that Wander fell in love with days after moving into the new town, Stardew Valley. That cursed town. Moving in was one of my greatest mistakes. The town taught me how people can truly change and become monsters. This is my story of what that evil valley brought onto me and my family. Day 1. This is it. I'm leaving my old life behind to live in some village in the middle of nowhere to become a farmer with Wander. I whispered to myself, reconsidering my choices. I know nothing about farming. Why am I doing this to myself? Last stop approaching, the bus lady hollered, scaring me with the suddenness. It was too late to back down now. I had no money left to get back home, so no matter what I had to make this new life of farming work. With these thoughts in mind, I realized that I could see the valley, so I put my worries aside. And got ready to enter my new life as a farmer, hoping everything would work out. Good luck, kid, the bus lady said as I departed the bus. I took a breath of fresh air. And felt a little bit at peace with the fresh air. The air back in Zuzu always smelled like smog, so if nothing else, the fresh air was a bonus. I grabbed a map of the valley out of my backpack. And saw that all I had to do to get to my cabin was go southwest. I saw a large cabin, with a woodpile off to the side of it, and a large wooden bin next to the cabin. I assumed that cabin was Wanda's, so I continued going west, and saw another wooden cabin, but this one had a green roof. I walked up to it and ran my hand across the wall as I approached the door. I grabbed the door handle, and pulled it open. What the fuck? I yelled as I was attacked by dust, leaving me to a coughing fit. I started waving my hands around like a lunatic to start to get rid of the dust. It took about 10 minutes. But eventually the hordes of dust subsided, leaving me alone in the room, with the only light source being a window, with a tree blocking most of the light. But in the dim light I noticed a strange box sitting in a corner. What in the world? I whispered, walking up to it, and lifted the top off. Inside I saw a variety of tools to help me become a farmer, as well as a couple packets of seed. Thanks to someone, I guess. It had a belt with clips on it, and latched all the tools onto it. Before going outside, Luca, someone yelled, causing me to turn sharply to the right, where I saw Wander running towards me. I'm so glad you made it. She ran up to me and saw all the tools clipped to my belt. And gave a little chuckle, signaling to me I looked ridiculous. It's nice to see you again, Wander, I calmly stated, trying to hide the embarrassment from my appearance. How long have you been here for? I've been here since this morning. Sorry I couldn't greet you when you got here. I was busy trying to figure out how to farm. She grabbed my arm and started to pull me. Let me show you where I started to farm. She started dragging me towards the front of her house, where I saw some land that was freshly watered. The mayor left me some tools as well, so I planted my seeds here. He left me some parsnips, so hopefully soon we can get some plants. That's the goal, I remarked depressedly. I can't really go back to Zuzu anymore, so I'm stuck here now. I grabbed my hoe and started savagely hitting the ground, recklessly throwing seeds onto the ground, and pouring the watering can everywhere in sight. I looked over to Wander, and she looked at me disappointed at what I've done. That was somehow worse than me, Luca, she noted, looking down in shame at what I have done. I'm sure you'll get better at it someday. But for right now, let's go visit the neighboring town. She screamed excitedly, a sudden change from her previous demeanor.